When I first started, I really was still sending out job applications on a regular basis. I could never get a job. I started the firm because I was on unemployment. So my passion is why I ended up in Birmingham, following something I believed in. When that job ended, I wanted to stay in Birmingham at that point in time. I really didn't have any money to move back to North Carolina. And so I said, well, what can I do in order to survive? And so I made a brochure based on services I had learned. I really want to encourage students to do as many internships as you can to be able to be prepared for your future, because you never know if you're going to start a company at an early age. I started my company at 28, 29, something like that. And so, I went from being a person who was around the board table but never leading the board table.
This is the Commercial Builders Network, where trust is restored, power is reclaimed, and legacy is built. Let's get to work. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Commercial Builders Network. My name is TaNeshia Reed, and I am your host. And today we have the beautiful, amazing L'Tryce Slade. She is doing things that not very many people that look like us do, even though that's pretty common with most of my guests, but this is so unique. She does land use and environmental studies, and let's just bring her in with the amazing, amazing things that she has going on. Hey, L'Tryce, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a little bit of drag. I'm trying to get my stuff together. I've been editing all morning, so I'm kind of like zoned out, but I'm blessed. So I'm glad that you are here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So please tell the people who you are and what are you known for?
Well, my name's L'Tryce Slade. I am known for being the dirt lady. So that's my claim to fame. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I speak to a lot of students, and so they get it.
Awesome. Awesome. And why the dirt lady?
Well, I've been told I'm the only African-American female that has a construction material testing lab in the country, where we test grout, mortar, soil, asphalt, just to name a few.
Awesome. So before your titles and certifications, who was L'Tryce Slade?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. So L'Tryce Slade is just from Ahoskie, North Carolina, very small town. Grew up basically in a rural area that had some of the nicest, most genuine people that you will ever meet. So that's my claim to fame from being from Ahoskie. Um, After high school, I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I studied communication studies, political science, went to graduate school and got a master's in regional planning, and then stayed to go to law school. So I was one of those students when they asked at orientation who thinks they want to go here, for undergrad and maybe graduate school. I did not raise my hand. So I was there probably longer than I anticipated when I first entered QSC.
You hold degrees in political science and communications. Like,
Yes.
how did that shift happen?
Well, this is one of the things I really want young people to know. You can be great in science when you're in high school and middle school and all that, but when you get to college, a lot of people are really good in science. And so you have to figure out what path is best for you. And I was not good in science when I went to college. And so I worked in a doctor's office in high school, and I thought that I was going to be a doctor. But when I got to college, things did not go as planned. So I had to find out, what am I actually good at? What am I actually interested in? And so I was soaring in my communication studies classes and political sciences classes. And that's why I majored in that in undergrad.
So you've been in this industry, or at least you have been in business for 20 plus years. Talk to me about sustaining business for that length of time, because a lot of people get in and get out. And what has sustained you during that time?
I would say what has sustained me is the power of resiliency, um, reinventing myself and what I'm doing, and tapping into what is my purpose and where do I want this company to go, and staying in tune with seeing what doors are opening for me. Um, I think oftentimes we can push on doors that don't open, but you aren't looking at what is opening. And so that's something that I really try to be in tune with being led to continue to grow my firm the way it should be from. And I'm not competing against anyone else. It's just me competing against myself. And so I think that's one of the things that I stay in my own lane based on L'Tryce's capabilities and what L'Tryce is interested in and passionate about. And how can I be a blessing to bless others as well as myself? I actually pray that prayer every day, that that will allow me to be a conduit to bless others as well as myself. So,
That's awesome. I have that same prayer.
mm,
Is how can I bless others? And that's part of the reason for this platform is to be able to give people their flowers and also give hope to those who are either in the industry, may have considered the industry, and want to go ahead and persevere and keep going. What I assume during your time, 20 years, there has been times where you may have questioned if this is for you, or maybe you've considered, I wanna quit. I wanna stop. Have you ever had one of those moments, and what made you keep going?
I mean, that's a really funny question because when I first started, I really was still sending out job applications on a regular basis. I could never get a job. So just to sort of take a step back, when I started this firm, I started the firm because I was on unemployment. I worked for a law firm for like a year and a half. One of the largest environmental toxic torts cases that I studied when I was in grad school and law school, and that's what brought me to Alabama from Chapel Hill. So my passion is why I ended up in Birmingham, following something I believed in. When that job ended, I wanted to stay in Birmingham at that point in time. I really didn't have any money to move back to North Carolina. And so I said, well, what can I do in order to survive? And so I made a brochure based on services I had learned at my graduate school background as well as work experience that I obtained while I was in school. I really want to encourage students to do as many internships as you can to be able to be prepared for your future because you never know if you're going to start a company at an early age. I started my company at 28, 29, something like that. Um, and so, I went from being a person who was around the board table, but never leading the board table. And so
Mhm.
if I hadn't had those good internship experiences, I wouldn't have been able to know how to do projects, how to carry myself, um, and be able to go meet other executives and presidents of companies. So I think that's really important for people to learn early on.
Awesome. So that you have, your general contracting license in multiple states, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, you know. How do you, stretch and operate a business in so many states, and how do you
Well,
sustain that?
it's based on relationships. And so I basically, look at different projects that I want to work on, but I don't work alone. I don't have, projects going on in all those states at one time. So, our growth has been organic. It's something that I wanted to be able to use as a marketing tool as well, to be able to partner with the same people in different places. So that was the reason why I did that. So the logic is if I'm working with you in Alabama, why can't I work with you in Tennessee? Or if I wanted to work on a project myself in Tennessee, I could. It's just a way of me being able to um, have my own path. When I first started in the contracting business, I was a sub to a sub to a sub. You would have never known I was on the team, right? And so when I finally got my name on the fence with my logo, it was a huge accomplishment. Mainly because I remember no one even knowing that I was on the team. And so now I'm entering a joint venture with a construction firm on a one of the largest projects going on in our city. It's a proud moment. I've done joint ventures in the past, but it's something to continue to do joint ventures. Is something that is really special about that. I don't want to just have a one off. I wanted to be able to continue that trajectory and continue for people to look at me as a good teaming partner. Um, so yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So you've also participated in multiple, programs to, I guess, enhance your business. Can you talk about some of those programs that other businesses or contractors could get into and look at to be competitive?
Sure. I participated in programs within 3 states. I participated in the Georgia Mentor Protege Program. Um, I've participated in the City of Atlanta Watershed and Airport Program. I participated in the Nashville, Tennessee Minority Contractors Program. I've participated in Birmingham's SBA Emerging Leaders, Scale Up as well with the Birmingham Business Alliance. Coca-Cola's executive program for small businesses. So the list goes on and on. Even Microsoft had a small business program. So I've
Wow.
never been afraid to go through these different cohorts because in each cohort, it made me better and it allowed me to have access to more information. And so I want to underline the word access because it's really, really important when you're a small business and you have not worked for large corporations. How do you learn what corporations look for or how they do business? And so I really feel like I have a um, small business MBA, if you will, even though I don't have a official MBA
Mhm.
degree. A lot of the classes and things we've been exposed to are MBA related, HR related. And that's the thing with being a small business owner. You have to know a little about a lot, right? But I say hiring other professionals who are consultants that can be on your team is the way to go because it's no way possible that you can know how to do everything. And so as you continue to scale, continue to reinvest money back into professionals who are better than you.
Awesome, awesome. And you also have multiple certification, multiple set aside,
Oh
um,
yeah.
which is awesome because they are not easy to get. Because I come from the DMV area where government contracts is like king, and
Mhm.
these set asides allow you to get in. Tell me about going through the process of getting these set asides, and does it actually make a huge difference on the opportunities that were able to get?
I would say that it helps, you get in the door, but you are what helps you stay in the door. I wouldn't want people to get frustrated or discouraged because, just because you have those certifications, it doesn't mean anyone's going to be, chasing you down. You mentioned the licenses I have professionally, even the certifications I have to do the work that I do. Those are things that no one is just going to do business with you just because you have that, right? That's just to validate your credibility. Yeah, what you bring to the table with the work product is what really, really matters. So I like to encourage people don't depend on small business certifications. Um, I think that what you have to do is make sure that you can compete toe to toe to anybody. You try to strive to be the best in the business every day.
So I know a lot of contractors focus on more of the concrete or I guess, building the foundational side. Why is your work so important when it comes to the process of building and construction?
Well, it all starts with the land. If you think about it, I try to encourage clients to contact me early on. I also try to give advice about, how to look at focusing and narrowing their project down so their costs will be more affordable, if you will. And so a lot of people, they, come to me with, oh, here's an address or here's the tract of land. I'm like, well, exactly where do you think you want to build on this piece of land? Because, the wider the scope, the more it costs. So let's like think about this and narrow down the study area. Well, let's do your due diligence phase one assessment to even determine before you purchase this property, is this property polluted? Does it have some risk? So that you'll be aware of what you're buying. So if you want to negotiate with a seller, you can. But once you buy it, it's basically yours. So I would encourage people to come to me early on for due diligence work, as well as even some of your geotechnical work. If it's a fairly large project, doing a preliminary study to see, is the soil conducive for building on? And if not, how much of the soil is going to have to be removed? And sometimes that makes and breaks projects if that's not in your budget.
I love that we're talking about due diligence. What are some of the risks that developers face by underestimating this process or wanting to skip the due diligence to save costs?
That is a great mistake. I've had some clients come to me and say, well, can we do one boring, Latrice? And I'm like, I would not recommend doing one boring because
What is that?
a boring is a drill rig drilling into the soil or maybe even through rock till it hits rock at least to determine the different levels of how far can the drill rig drill and then getting samples, what we call core samples, in order to test to see the conditions of the suitability of the soil. To see, is this soil red clay soil? And if so, you don't really want to build on red clay soil. So we have to make a recommendation about how much needs to be removed. So, oftentimes topography is different on a parcel. It may be healing. So for me to do one boring, how would you know about the other types of soil that are present or the rock that may be present? So I always tell clients, if you're going to do a project, you really want to make sure that you have, contingency money, you have over and beyond what the architect is estimating for the construction costs of building the building. There's also construction costs for prepping the land, on the civil side and the geotechnical side that you have to consider as well. So,
So, as you scaled your business, what type of systems are you using internally to be able to serve larger clients?
one of the things I had to address is understanding employees come and go. And so when you ask me about the different certifications that I hold those certifications because I will always know the business that I'm selling, right? And so I took the time and effort, which took longer time to build my company by, I say, building a stronger foundation, but it really doesn't matter who comes and goes. Slade can sustain and still do the work. Um, I think that it's really important for when people are building businesses that they develop SOPs, standard operating procedures. So that way, when you're even doing your training for people that you're bringing in, you may be working so hard and not really have time to train people. Well, how do you train people faster and be able to produce the same quality? My goal in my company is to be like Chick-fil-A. When you go to Chick-fil-A, you know exactly how the food is going to taste. If you get chicken sandwich and waffle fries and lemonade, you know exactly what you're going to get. The service is the same. They're very friendly. It's polite. It's my pleasure. I want my employees to be able to perform the same way when they go on a construction site. Doesn't matter if the person's been with me 6 months or if they've been with me 15 years. I want to make sure we provide the same level of service to our client. And so that's what I think is really important for businesses to learn is how do you replicate providing quality service over and over again so that your clients will keep coming back to you over and over again.
So, a part of your mission is to eradicate poverty and uplift families. Talk to me about that and the heart behind and where that comes from.
Well, when I first started my business, I was just trying to survive myself. I really was on unemployment. And my mom encouraged me, even once I started, doing this, like, are you still looking for a job? You're going to get a job because I was making really good money before I went to law school. And she's like, well, you have 4 degrees. What are you doing? It's very humbling to be in that position. So I decided to teach as an adjunct professor. My mom was a teacher. It made sense. Um, so with knowing that I had to continue to grow my business, I knew that I needed to be able to stabilize. I think one of the things now that grounds me is being able to know that I have a purpose for why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's to help others with their families to be able to send their kids to college and to be provide for their families. I had one employee that I asked to go to a business development meeting for me because I had other meetings I had to attend to divide and conquer. So we have company shirts that are collar dress shirts, and people wear polo pants and look very professional. And he came back and told me, Latrice, I was voted the most least likely to succeed. And I really never looked at him that way because here at my company, the sky's the limit. As high as you want to go. If you get these certifications, you can really, really make very good money and provide for your family. You don't have to have a college degree. And so that was my beginning of the why. We've also hired people who needed a second chance to just be able to get back on their feet after serving time in prison and just wanting them to be able to not feel like their life is over because they made one mistake. What I learned is not just the training of how to do the skill, it's also business etiquette, social etiquette, expectations. Some people have been raised in families where there were no men in the household. And so the expectation of them, being on time and arriving looking a certain kind of way. Those are the kind of things that are nurturing. Um, and it's made an impact on me, even, with them coming, if they don't work for the company anymore, they've come back and, thanked me for the opportunity to help them grow professionally. And so that's real impact. It doesn't matter to me if I have 100 people that I've hired, at a time versus if it's 10. It's the consistency of people staying with my company. It's the consistency of them feeling like they are evolving and being fulfilled as well. It's the impact.
Awesome. That's actually really powerful. I had another guest who actually has a program out in the DMV where she door knocks to get people from the community to help rebuild, give them a trade and rebuild the community. So
Mhm.
that's really awesome because I've always stated that if you give them a trade, give people a trade in impoverished areas and help them to rebuild their community, they will sustain the community. So I think it's really powerful that you are giving opportunity to other people who may have come from either an impoverished background or need a second chance and seeing and giving them hope that they can keep going. So that is really powerful. Um,
I say that we build more than buildings, we build people. And so that's my tagline on my website. And, when I came to that realization of that was really what I was doing, um, it gave me even more drive to want to continue to stick with my business. I think you asked, what causes you to continue to stay in business for 20 years or want to do it even more than 20 years. That's really the why. It has to be a bigger purpose than me because otherwise this would be too stressful, to be honest with you, to continue. It
yeah.
would be much easier just to get a job, especially now since I have a 3-year-old that is demanding a lot of my time.
Talking about the babies, I know that you have started a foundation of sorts to help inspire children to get into the industry. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So this is something that has evolved, I guess, over the last 2 years, and it's a big seat. I've never had a nonprofit, and nonprofits are not the same. What I've found out is that it's more challenging when you're trying to do something to help more people than it is to have a company. Um, I don't expect that, but that is what I've experienced. And so just trying to get more community partners to come in and help has been something that I've had to basically use my marketing hat in a different kind of way. It has not been a fast process, it's been a slow process, but I know that people who will be helped are underserved youth. And that's something that, I'm from a very rural area. I wouldn't say that I was underserved as far as financially. I had probably middle class family, but underserved was coming from an area that didn't have a lot of access to information like larger metropolitan areas for education purposes. And so I know how that feels. I'm going to compete in a place like UNC where some of the best go there. I know how I could have been prepared so much more if I would have had access to more information. So I don't want students not knowing what they can become. Oftentimes we hear about becoming a lawyer or a doctor. I got my law degree, but I never had I heard about geotechnical engineering or constructional testing or environmental engineering with the kind of things that I do. And so there's a big world out there. And so I want to make sure that students are exposed to it and they know that they can have a passion or interest. I had an interest in environmental ever since I was probably 4 or 5 years old, wondering where the trash went, after it left our house because, it had to be taken to a roll-off and not the trash man coming to pick it up. So, those kind of things can start at a very young age. You never know who people will become, but if they don't have access to be able to dream, they won't know what they could become.
Awesome. So for a company that's considering to partner with you on this initiative, what could they expect to be, I guess, the outcome for the children that they are looking to impact? What does that program look like?
Well, we have developed a curriculum, but we're also partnering with Birmingham City Schools. And so I am so grateful for that opportunity. It's something that through diligence and continue to show up and express my heart that we've been able to form that relationship. We've had donors such as Regions Bank to, donate to our cause. And we're trying to get other corporations to donate. I want people to understand this about partnership, and there's nothing that's too small or too big to bring to the table. We want people to volunteer as well if they have a passion or a skill they want to be able to show or demonstrate to the kids. If they'd like to sponsor a kid for a youth camp program to pay for their camp, you know, that would be awesome because there's kids who parents can't afford to send them to summer camp, you know? Um, how do we do that? Through partnership. So we appreciate anything that people can help with. We have a
Awesome.
website, sladefoundation.org. You can donate there. If you it's a 501(c)(3), so you can donate there if you would like to donate.
Awesome, awesome. And I know you have 20 years in the industry, of building this business. What do you see, your lasting legacy being? And what do you want if when somebody from 20 years from now thinks of L'Tryce Slade, what do you want them to think?
Um, for me, the next 20 years is about legacy building. I've gotten to this point, and I'm nowhere where I thought I would be with the level of effort that I've put into this. I want people to know that it is a slow grind. It's not a fast grind. And oftentimes when I am, really, really grinding, God sends opportunities like talking to people like yourself to remind me, well, why are you doing this? And who are you? And so that really is encouragement to me. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to share my story
Mm.
so that hopefully it will ignite other people to realize that it's not glitz and glamour, but it's about being able to have that stick to itiveness and that determination, that perseverance that will make the difference. And if you can help other people along the way, then I want to make sure that people realize that my company is more than just a construction or engineering firm. It's a firm that gave back to the next generation and look who they could help. And so I just feel like that's the calling of my life, is being able to help as many people as I can. Hope that I can be a conduit that other people will trust what I've built so far to allow me to continue to do bigger and better things. If that's teaming on more projects or if that's donating to the foundation, I feel like the sky's the limit.
Awesome. I would typically ask right now, what is your ask? But I know we have the foundation. How do people look to actually use you for business and get in touch with you to, I'm not going to say support your business because
Yeah, we need
it,
support. Yeah, definitely.
well, well, and but then, because when I think support, it's like I guess like a donation to your business. No, you have a quality business, a quality product, and people need to know that you are available for partnership and to work with them and to provide a service.
Well, we have a 800 numbers, 866-925-5742. You can also email me at lslade, that's SLADE, at sladellc.com. But we are right now, we're looking for grant opportunities for renovating a building, so I'm doing my own construction project right now. We're looking for donations for helping these kids have impact for summer camp, so there are so many ways that you can. I got some calls from people that I've done business with when they were working for the government. Now they are doing their own project and they're calling me for help on their personal development projects. Kudos to them, but I'm glad they remembered me and they enjoyed working with me and they felt that I was trustworthy to work on something with them outside of their 9 to 5, that they want me to be a part of their personal team. So that speaks volumes. So just bringing my name up, you never can have too many advocates.
Mhm.
If you look up Slade in Birmingham, I will definitely come up. I'm very easy to find. I say the world has my phone number, literally. So if there's anything I can do to serve, I enjoy speaking as well. That's one of my passions, and that's something over the last 10 years I've been doing more and more and more. And so that is something that's meaningful to reach others on a larger scale. I think the next thing I might do is write a book. So that's on the horizon. But I got to get in this building and get this foundation rocking and rolling a little bit stronger before I do that.
I love that. And then please state the states that you're currently doing business in.
Oh wow. So right now we're doing business in Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. But in the past, we've done business as far out as Seattle, Washington, Concord, California, Brooklyn, New York, Radford, Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland, um, Dallas, Texas, just to name a few. So we go where the work is. So I don't want people to feel like we're prohibited or limited. We have worked in 5 airports, from Texas to Nashville, Tennessee, to Atlanta, Georgia, to Birmingham, Alabama, and Huntsville, Alabama. And we're trying to get to some other airports. So we work for municipalities. So consider us on your future hearts. We really appreciate that.
Also, well, Latrice, thank you so much for your time. And
And
it was
thank
a pleasure having you.